Welcome back. It's time for press review, and just before we get into that, let me remind you what we'll be discussing later on, and that is forming the basis of our teachable question. What are your thoughts on Sonko's move to appoint Anne Mwenda as Nairobi Deputy Governor? We'll be sampling your views and making them a part of our conversation. But before that, let's take a look at the papers and what's making headlines. Now, that story is a big one today, and we'll be focusing on it later on, but there's still other political stories that are making headlines. Today on the Standard, we are asked, the top title is Why Raila's Party Wants a Referendum. Now, ODM rallies supporters to back fresh round of proposals, as you can see on your screen, handshake report, and saying the reforms must be subjected to a popular vote to change the country's structure of government. That is the Standard's top story today. And they're giving us an outline of some of the times, the important dates. We're having July and June is ODM's timeline for the national vote this year. Then we have the 10th as a date for the Nyanza BBI Forum in Kisii. And we have the 18th Western Region Forum in Kakamega, among other dates, as you have seen right there on the top page. But then we have other people who feel like this is not something that can happen within 6 months. And joining the conversation, I have Kevin Osido, I don't know why I'm forgetting your name.
It's a new year. So
yes, the new year, new things. Yeah, we shall revisit it. But welcome to the conversation. Kevin Osido is the Director of County Governance Watch, as well as Chege Mwaura, who is the Ngara Ward MCA. Welcome to the show, gents. What do you make of this story that is making the top page of the Standard that has to do with the BBI? And there's the call for other political parties to also engage the public in getting their proposals and their opinions as we go forth towards making this a reality later on. I'll start with you, Mr. Mwaura.
All right, thank you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Okay, I think this is really a BBI year, so that we actually get to know what kind of direction that it's going to take.
Yes.
There are, of course, conflicting proposals.
Right.
The team was extended some time. So we expect them at least to first of all tell us this is the modus operandi. This is how they want to engage us. And then maybe, so that now we are also knowing very well what kind of changes are going to happen and what are they expecting. And then maybe they tell us we'll be working between this period, maybe between January to June or January to September, or whatever it is at the time they're going to choose, and then tell us these are the mile markers. So that they should be giving us more periodic reviews as opposed to the last term. Because in their last term, it was going around getting collected views. Now they've already collected views. So they're going to check those views against what Kenyans are thinking and if there are further changes to it. I think this time around they should not wait until the end to give us a report. I think they should be able to give us periodic reports that this is what Kenyans are saying, so that we process as we move. So by the time we get to the final document again, we do not get a polarized country. Because at the end of the day, the BBI is not it's supposed to unite Kenyans.
Yes, not
and it should not be sneaked up on anyone. So I think because we actually now know the contents, I think the way they need to approach it moving forward, and because the stream is still the same that they collected the views, so that they don't be the ones that cooked and the ones who are sampling their own food.
Absolutely.
So to speak, they need to tell us, give us periodic checks of this is what is going to happen, and then so that by the time we're doing it finally, we're okay. The country is almost agreeable in what direction it's going to take.
Your take, Mr. Osido.
Thank you so much, Trix, and I agree with Mheshimiwa Chege, because there is a reason why there is a BBI in place. We now have a report, and the most interesting thing to me is whether referendum or not, the Constitution in Article 255 is very clear around what issues would require a referendum, and it talks about the supremacy of this Constitution. It refers to the territory of the Republic of Kenya, the sovereignty of the people, the national values and principles of governance, of government, the Bill of Rights, term of office of the President, independence of the judiciary and the commissions and independent offices to which Chapter 15 apply, functions of Parliament, among several other issues. And so I think that because His Excellency the President and the former Prime Minister have gone ahead and renewed the term of the task force.
Yeah.
The task now, therefore, should be to look at what are the constitutional issues that would require a constitutional referendum,
Yes.
legal interpretation issues, administrative issues, policy issues, because
Yes.
I think that the recommendations are very clear around what needs to be done. So we need to do what needs to be done, because I think we've done too much of the talking.
Yeah.
Kenyans are looking forward to 2020, which is not so much around referendum,
Yeah.
ODM and TNA, I mean Jubilee and several others.
Right.
Number two, and just to add on to what Mheshimiwa also said, is that I think that we should now not be talking about parties when it comes to BBI, because the BBI has given us more or less like a platform that looks to me like a very good space to begin a conversation around, so that all these push and pull need to be dealt with at a point where either the task force is sitting or the people who speak on behalf of the principals who now should be telling Kenyans what really is in the mind of the principals.
Yes.
Number three is that is Kenya ready for a referendum right now? I think it's a question that that really needs to be delved deeper into, and it's because we have had analysis and conversations around the implementation of the Constitution, and we have asked ourselves, what does the audit report of the constitutional implementation framework look like? Where have we not done very well? For example, on affirmative action, the 2/3 gender issues, which are still being addressed in the BBI report. Parliament, I mean, National Assembly failed to pass that particular law. What really is this circus around? And then lastly is, yes, this is our country as Kenyans. We have to be as patriotic as we can possibly can, but we know that two people, Tricks and Mheshimiwa, two people run what happens in this country, Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta and Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. Let them sit down and tell Kenyans exactly what they think needs to be done, even as we continue to read the report and to hold very many town hall meetings to try and decipher what exactly is in the minds of the two principals.
And given the plans, or the little we know about the plans about engagement, as far as they go, you are a huge proponent of consulting the public and engagement in order to get it right in terms of implementing plans and what have you. So how would you have it be? And are you satisfied with the rollout, any plans that we've heard about? Are you satisfied with how we're going so far?
No, Tricks, I keep coming with this booklet here because this is my copy which I printed, and I've told you before that this was very costly to print.
Yeah.
Out there and in the village during the festive season, I spent almost 75% of my time trying to talk to young people, women, in their various settings, and they were inviting me to their chama meetings, and they were saying, Kevin, hatujaona document.
Exactly.
Now, that is the place to begin with. I know that there is a simplified version, but the task force agenda really, as Mheshimiwa rightfully said, give us a time frame. And part of that time frame needs to be a roadmap of including when are we going to print these booklets and ensure that people have them out there. And if that is a difficult work to do, County Governance Watch, for where I serve, is very willing and ready to take up an opportunity to not only do a simplified version, but to work together with many other like-minded Kenyans, including institutions and individuals whose names were put here, to ensure that we go out there and that Kenyans understand this. Because one of the biggest challenges would be to get to people and begin conversations around things which they don't even know about. So I think that for me, when we talk about public participation, one of the most important things is that information. Article 35 issues, let people have access to this document. Yes, we appreciate the task force call for Kenyans to go online and read it from online. But how many people, how many people will be able to access it?
Yes.
And then number two, just so that you can bring in Mheshimiwa, is that at the county levels, even as we look at the different proposals to have these regional meetings, we need to have leaders that are acceptable to the people. For example, we had challenges when Bomas was taking place. Now we already have challenges, even in Nyanza, where I hear there is supposed to be a meeting in Kisii, and when you look at the conversations going on, people are uncomfortable with how the invitations are being done and even how the conversations are going to be happening. So I think that we need to open up this process, and it's because I think in the history of this great republic, among several other reports, it is the only report that where His Excellency the President has publicly accepted this,
Received, yeah.
launched it, and thrown it back to the people. So
Right.
in the same spirit and gesture, I think it needs to be given a platform where all Kenyans in their own contexts and environments can be able to engage with the report.
Absolutely. Honorable Maura, do you feel that we should be going to a level that we're doing kamukunjis and barazas to get to the grassroots people so that they can understand? Because not everyone, as Mr. Osido has pointed out, even knows what is in this particular report. There's need for that understanding.
You see, as a country, we are guided by the Constitution. The Constitution provides two ways which you wanted to change the Constitution. You go about. One is the parliamentary route,
Yes.
and two is the popular initiative. The popular initiative is the one of collecting more than a million or thereabout signatures, and then bringing the process to start at the county level, county assemblies, and then cascaded upwards. So if that is the route that they're going to take, or the parliamentary one, I think it's fair for us to request that the task force be very clear on what route they're going to take. So we clearly finish that debate on which route we're going to take, because I've had some sections of parliamentarians saying it should be parliamentary or whatever. Others saying it should be referendum route for everyone. So if that is the route that you're going to take, then fair enough. Then let us be told that if we are going popular initiative route, this is how we again going to go to collecting the signatures. We are going to have X number of meetings in X number of counties, and we are going to involve this number of people. So it's very clear. I think the country has grown, the democratic space has grown, and people are now aware. This, putting things a bit secret is not very right. I think it's fair to be told this is how we want to do it, and if they're coming to whatever counties, these are the people who will be engaging. So that if they're going to engage my chief or my pastor, and I'm not being engaged, can I also put my views and give them to the person who will get the chance to go to that conference or whatever it is? Right. If it's going through the assembly, let it be very clear. So now we don't work from vagueness. So I think openness is the word to go, and let us be told, because we are not also collecting new views, we're just refining the ones that are there. This thing should honestly not take more than 6 months, because again, as a country, these are not, after that, people need to move on, and people need to work, and people need to earn living. They're living. And the earlier we put these things aside and we proceed with our lives, the better for everyone.
Right. Now, while you say, talking about the 6-month period, we had Kipchumba Murkomen and being emphatic that that's not going to happen and that it's not a priority. What's your take on those sentiments?
Precisely. Then that now behooves the team to now give us clarity on the direction they need to take. So that we don't hear the leader of majority and the Senate saying this, the leader of minority and the Senate countering. Let us be told, is Senator Haji or Senator Wako, whoever is the chair this time round, tell us we have decided this is the direction. Let us agree on the mode of how we want to operate. And then let us argue about that. Once that is clear, can we roll out, and we know that if this thing moves within 3 months, or if they give themselves a target of 6 or whatever it is they're going to do, let us know that they're out of time or they're within time. And then what kind of budgetary implication does it also hold? And where is this money coming from? And if we are going to go the referendum route, how much is it going to cost the country? If not, so that we are very clear.
Right, and it's interesting you pointed out the budget issue, because the leader of minority was also pained to explain that they are not taking county, funds to fund these particular meetings.
Exactly, where will they get the money from? So it needs to be clear.
Yeah, it's a whole other debate, so I think we cannot exhaust it right now. So let's move on to the top story on the Daily Nation. And we're told today KRA hits small traders with a new patriotism tax. Now, if you run a small kiosk, grocery shop, a salon, prepare to start remitting to the taxman 3% of your sales on a monthly basis. And further, when you look at page 5, then they're giving us details. For example, this means if you are that if your annual business license fee is 10,000 shillings, then you should prepare to top up by 1,500 shillings for the taxman. And small businesses will also be expected to keep records necessary for the determination of ascertainment for the turnover tax when KRA comes calling. I mean, is this us paying the debts that we owe? Or what's going on? What's your take on this? Is it our way out of this difficult economic times? I'll start with you, Mr. Osidio.
This is a joke.
It's a joke?
Yeah, this is a big joke, and it's because the taxman has not, well, government has not proven that it is able to be a good steward of the taxes that Kenyans are paying. And I'm saying this because you walk out of your, in fact, not even walking out of your house, but right inside your house, you're already buying lots of gallons of water.
Yeah.
You walk out there and the roads are in pathetic situations.
Conditions.
You walk into the health facilities and human resources missing.
Yeah.
Facilities are not just, you know. So until that time when government will be able to show to Kenyans that yes, already the much that you are giving to us, we are taking very good care of it. Number two, the small businesses we are talking about, really a kiosk, Mama Mboga down there, somebody who is already paying a lot of taxes to the county governments. Either you are doing an annual license fee or you are, every time you're paying the little monies that Kanjos are coming and asking you to pay. This is somebody who has to, through his own and his or her own efforts, look for transport to get his or her goods from Gikomba to wherever your source of the kiosk is. I think government is not being fair. And the beauty of it is that they are calling this a patriotic tax.
Yeah.
I wonder how many Kenyans were sought, how many opinions of Kenyans were sought for us to be able to have this. Of course, government is supposed to provide an amicable environment to do business and to put in place policies and legislations that are supposed to ensure that the country is running. But I think on this one, the finance bill that was signed by the president needs a revision. I think this is pushing Kenyans too hard, and especially because even if we are paying the Chinese loans, we have not showed that those loans are actually doing what they were supposed to do. And it's because we read the papers, we watch these parliamentarians on television, we have conversations in our local joints back in the villages and in our estates, and government just needs to wake up, pull up your socks, and put your, you know, put your minds, put Kenyans inside your heads and understand the kind of lives that Kenyans are living. And therefore generate policies that are going to make things much more easier for Kenyans and not difficult. And especially because this week schools are opening and parents are already out there asking for how are we going to buy facilities for our kids, equipment, pay school fees, uniforms, and all these things. And look at the kind of people that now we are talking about, the Mama Mbogas, the small kiosk owners. I think this is an unfair policy. The government needs to come forward and either explain to Kenyans why it has to be done.
Yes.
The time frame is not friendly because they are talking about January 1st, 2020. It's already happening. So that means that by February 20th, then the first payments should already be levied or made to the taxman. I think it's not in good faith.
Yeah. Do you feel it's justified, Honorable Mora?
First of all, it's called the patriotism. You cannot force patriotism on people, to be fair.
Yeah.
It should, if it's patriotism, people should feel that I actually need to be part of, you know, the movement
and
of the economy, and it's for my good, and I should be told that this amount of tax is supposed also to be of general good to wherever I am.
Yeah.
So for me, the bigger question would be the rationale. What informed it and why?
Right.
And if you look at, honestly, the bracket that we have currently, how many people are in the tax bracket to start with?
Yes.
Even in Nairobi only. And then secondly, what kind of turnovers are we talking about? Because if somebody is earning gross sales of about 2,000 or less, so what are you looking for as government? And or even less, because Mambogas maybe make a turnover 1,000 or less, and then maybe picks 100 shillings from that. So that's what you're looking for. I think that is also being punitive. So I think the rationale needs to be very clear. And I wish that the authorities also understand that Kenyans are also becoming a very enlightened society. People are going to ask you questions. And the general overview of maybe as we approach to the next election, how are you planning to fund your ideas and your manifestos, so that now we are very clear if we are putting you in government. You are going to go for my grandmother's shop or even savings that she has, so that I know this is not the direction I want to do, or go, this is the direction I want to be in. So I feel let the tax man also be very clear in opening up the rationale and what. Okay, so what is the expected target? What are we going to get out
of this?
After the end of 2019, 2020? How much will we have gotten? And is it possible that the same amount could have been gotten had we even roped in other richer, bigger businesses? So we look at it and be able to fairly define what they are up to and what they need to do.
Right.
And by the way, remember that towards the end of last year, the taxman produced names of governors and very big business personalities who had defaulted in tax payment.
Exactly.
I am hoping that as this is also being thought about, that they'll also tell us how far those negotiations have gone and how much money they've been able to recover from those kind of people and businesses.
Clearly, KRA will be on the spot this year in terms of what they deliver and if this, some of the moves they are making are right for the Kenyan people. Now, onto a story that has been making headlines since New Year's. Kandara MP Alice Wahome and her sentiments towards the president. And she is still making headlines today on page 10 of the Standards, a very hard-hitting title right there. "I'll not apologize to Uhuru," says a defiant Wahome. Now, she has since faced a beret of criticism from Uhuru and Raila allies, and she said, "I have been criticized and threatened because of speaking my mind. I will not allow to be intimidated. God and Kenyans are on the side of truth." I mean, is truth relative? Do you agree with the sentiments coming out of the story?
You see, Kenyans, we are drama-loving people. And,
this is true.
I didn't watch the event where the former minister, Charles Rubia, let him lay rest. What Honorable Alice said was in front of the president. We've juiced it up and made whatever stories we want of it and creating a hero out of her.
Yeah.
What she said, I mean, what is it that she said was so outrageous, to be very honest. I mean, this is a free country. The president is open. The president has said, I mean, even Miguna can come and say whatever he wants to say. We should not overjuice it. You know, she had her views. If you didn't think they were nice views, then come up with yours that can counter. But we are overjuicing it, in my view. And because the gist of it, what you guys covered in that evening news was that she talked about civil liberties being infringed on and going back to the 90s. Is it right or is it wrong? I mean, based on what she said. So these are stories about respecting, disrespecting. I mean, everyone is entitled to their views and the style of the way they are going to deliver them. So, but I've seen groups coming in, women groups, youth groups coming to challenge and whatever it is. And then I'm not holding brief for anyone, but I think as a free country, Trump had hit by the Senate Speaker, you know, and anyone else can come. And this is a country where you're able to, so long as you're respectful, your views should be allowed.
Absolutely.
So long as you're not being, you know, the stature of the president has not been demeaned by what she said. I think we're getting out of hand.
And speaking of that, giving it more life than it deserves, in her words, she said, people should deal with the messenger, should not deal with the messenger. They should address the message and respond instead of idle talk, as if they have nothing else to do. I have received positive feedback and from all over the country, with people congratulating me for telling the president what many can't. But at the same time, we know that some of the president's allies were not too happy with her sentiments. Mr. Osita.
Tricks, there is nothing that anyone tells His Excellency the President more than what the President knows. Every morning the gentleman is briefed by NIS, intelligence, and many other different. In fact, the other day he told us during the launch of the BBI that he also calls people. And that he called some lady friend of his from Kibra who was telling him very nice things about the election. So I wonder what value this adds to the political scene, basically, but I know it's because of the Tanga and the Kieleweke, and the context right now is that there is this perceived thinking that His Excellency the President and the Deputy President are not reading from the same script, and that they are also can't even sit and drink tea from the same table.
Yeah.
And that now each side has these people who are coming out
These
to
allies,
be able to speak for them and to drum up their kind of understanding of the political context, for which is okay, because I think that each of us has a democratic right. You have a civil right to say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And that as we move towards 2022, because everything is really being drummed towards that end, I think the most important conversation around all this needs to be what's in it for Kenyans.
Yes.
What are Kenyans saying, and is the president listening to what Kenyans are saying? Because if I listen to Mheshimiwa Ali speaking about the economy, I would be so happy, and not to say that the president is the biggest, okay, it was Raila who was a mercenary, and the president is the biggest existential threat to Kenya's economy.
Right.
This is a legislator. Get into the National Assembly and present motions and bills that will be able to excite Kenyans around what you feel the president is not properly doing, and rally your fellow parliamentarians to pass laws that are going to be friendly to address the gaps that you are already seeing as a legislator, because as a parliamentarian, there are so many things you know, which Kenyans probably do not know. But I think it would be a disservice for us to discuss what Alice Wahome says today, what Mheshimiwa Chege Mwaura will say tomorrow, what Kevin Osido will say in some town hall meeting in Tharaka Nithi, because we have almost 600 legislators in this country. If we created time to discuss what each and every one of them is saying, I think we would not be growing this economy. Some of those good things were okay in my view, but I think it would be a waste of time, respectfully to say so, to keep going back and saying, oh, you told off the president. You can't tell off His Excellency the President. This is somebody who's been elected by the people. This is somebody who, in my view, if you feel that you have better ideas as a legislator, please, you have the best opportunity now to go out there and make those, and do something about it.
Yes, absolutely. Now let's shift gears to another story that I think will be a big one in a few, that one of Miguna coming back to the country. And it's on the top page of the Standard. We're told Miguna gets all clear to land today. General returns after March 2018 deportation saga. And we all know that infamous video that we all watched of him shouting that he's not boarding, asking for his luggage and what have you. And then we are told here as the headline for that story on this, in The Nation, Miguna free to return with no drama. Do you believe it will be a drama-free return?
I have said here, Matrix, that Kenyans love drama.
Yes,
people
we do.
Glued to see how this guy is going to come back and say whatever, and maybe refuse to remove his passport. But then again, we need to ask ourselves as a country, what are we building, especially for an international airport like JKIA, that is an international hub. I don't mind whatever it is that he has to offer in terms of drama and theatrics. But then again, the person right behind him in the queue should not be involved. I mean, Kenyan securities need to find a way of containing all those things that he wants to do, and whatever they want also to give him back, you know, and work it out somewhere. I mean, if you go to other international airports and you know, sometimes you see how maybe somebody from a Middle Eastern country, or maybe, you know, other West African countries, that they produce a passport and it looks a bit, they need to be checked again. There's no drama. You are moved to wherever, and then, so that, because these are one of our biggest economic earners is tourism. I mean, can you imagine somebody just picking that, posting it in social media, and then this is JKI. I mean, this is what happens when you land in Africa. So I think our authorities need to find a way of containing all those things and not treating our international airport into ridicule. I think, I honestly, I mean, Miguna talks whatever it is that he wants. But whatever he's going to say, how is it affecting Kenyans' daily lives? How is it affecting the country's economy and the image that we want to present outside there? That needs to be very clear to the authorities, and they need to emphasize that when they're handling him. If he does not produce the necessary papers or whatever it is that they want, then they need to find a way of containing that situation that looks like there's actually a serious government in place in Kenya, and authorities at JKIA are able to handle. I mean, you know, we are on some alert since that the minister, the guy from Tehran, Iran, you know, now we are in some alert because of our dealings with terrorism and all that. I mean, suppose that was being used as a decoy. You know, somebody takes this, and when we are all shifted towards this direction, something else happens. So I think we need to be very serious and also not highlight things that are really not worth highlighting.
Now, the Standard also has this story. Like I said, it is a big one, and I expect it to be even bigger, and all eyes will be on the airport as he touches down. He said, let the rogues comply with all the court orders issued today and the numerous ones issued in 2018. A good start would be their delivery of my Kenyan passport. Mr. Osido.
Yeah, as a country that is there was a modus operandi how things are done.
Yeah.
If the court says deliver his documents, because deliver them, because well, Miguna will find an excuse. He'll find a reason to get his return to be dramatic. I think it would be important for the country to focus on important issues and ignore unnecessary sideshows. Because if Miguna's documents are there, probably he would say he now wants a red carpet. Deliver it to him. Okay, the red carpet is there. He will say he wants some traditional drama dancers. Deliver them to him, because I think Kenyans really, 2020, January 7th, we cannot be going back and forth because of personalities for things, in my view, which really do not add a pinch of salt to the food that I eat on my table. Because whether Miguna returns or not, the interest is to either himself, his people, his relatives, and people who think and feel that his return is important to them. And I've been asking myself, because we are spending too much time talking about this from 2017, what value does Miguna's, probably is listening and he might want to tweet this and say some nasty things about me. They are welcome. But I think the most important thing, the bottom line is, let's move this country forward. And for whatever little that each and every one of us can do, and including Miguna, if his return is supposed to help benefit Nairobi County government to perform better because he vied as a governor, that would be the best thing to happen. If it is supposed to help the judiciary to work and deliver the thousands of cases that are lying out there as a legal scholar, that would be the best thing that will happen to this country, and not being, you know, played around.
Drama.
Some dramatic
And to be fair, he did say, I'm not asking for any special treatment. I have never sought the so-called red carpet treatment. I want and demand all my rights and fundamental freedoms to be respected. Read more on this on page 18 of the Standard. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more discussions right here on Morning Express. Do not go too far.